Before we come to the next agenda, I would like to greet on our online space. There will be a 250 participants in our Zoom meeting. Welcome to Juanda International Conference for all participants in Zoom meeting. Okay. And next, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen the welcome speech that delivered by the Chancellor of Universitas Juanda. Please welcome Professor Dr. Haji Martin Rostami, SH, MH, CRA, CMI, CCD.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera buat kita semua. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wa bihi nasta'in ala umurid dunya waddin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala habibina wa syafi'ina wa zuhurina wa maulana Muhammad. Good morning and welcome to the Juanda International Conference. It is with great pride and joy that we gather here today at the Juanda University Campus Bertauhid for this prestigious event. Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all participants and our distinguished keynote speaker. The first of all, Bapak Laksamana Madya TNI, Dr. Irfan Shah, SH, MTR, Opsla, CHRMP, Kepala Badan Keamanan Laut Republik Indonesia, Bakamla. Dengan penuh rasa terima kasih, kami menyambut kehadiran Bapak Kepala, Bapak Jenderal di Universitas Juanda Kampus Bertauhid. Kehadiran beliau merupakan momentum penting dalam merealisasikan tekad UNIDA untuk mendukung sistem ekonomi kelautan dan keamanan laut teritorial Republik Indonesia yang berdaulat. Pada kesempatan ini, istimewa ini, kami juga mohon kesediaan hadirin untuk mengambil waktu dalam rangka penandatanganan Memorandum of Understanding between UNIDA dan Bakamla sebagai langkah awal kolaborasi strategi dalam bidang studi, mahasiswa, riset, pengabdian masyarakat, serta pengembangan hukum, keamanan, ekonomi, dan potensi kelautan Indonesia. Kami berharap kerjasama ini dapat memberikan kontribusi nyata bagi kemajuan bangsa dan kedaulatan maritim. After that, please allow me to, before the presentation, to all speakers, Juanda and Bakamla will sign a memorandum of understanding, which marks a significant step toward a strategy collaboration in study, research, community service, and development of law, security, economy, and maritime potential of Indonesia. Allow me to touch my very distinguished guest speaker, Professor Dr. Eng Asep Bayu Dani Nandianto from the Indonesia Education University. Prof. Asep, selamat datang. Professor Abdul Karim Safik Mahdi Al-Ubaidi from Taylor's University, actually from Iraq. No, in Taylor University. Associate Professor Mary Eng from Nanyang Technology University. Welcome, bro. Professor Dr. It is my close friend, Professor Dr. Nurwal Hilal Madalan from University Utara Malaysia. Selamat datang, Prof. Professor Tulus Suryanto, he will come after. Professor Rivinder Rena from Durban University of Technology, South Africa. Welcome, Prof. Rakoto Riasimo, Rakoto Warisoa Maminirana Vince. Mr. Vince, I'm sorry, so difficult to. Mr. Vince, welcome. Our friend from Madagascar. Professor Dato Mazrin Rohizak C. Rose from University Geomatika Malaysia. Welcome, Prof. And also distinguished speaker who attend virtually from USA, Professor Dr. Agus Sofian, PhD, from University of Pickeville, the United States of America. Good afternoon, Professor Agus. Professor Dr. Ismail Hakiki Merici from HTTP University Ankara, Teşekkür ederim. Good morning, bro. Professor Dr. Semra Mirici from Gazi University, Turkey, and Associate Professor Dr. Kristina Oreskova from University of National and World Economy, Bulgaria. Welcome to Juanda International Conference in Bogor. We are deeply honored by your presence and look forward to your insight and contribution. This conference theme supports sustainability sourcing, aimed the challenge of climate change through networking and collaboration in applied and science and social research, reflect a critical global issue that demands urgent action and innovative study. As we face the challenge posed by climate change, this forum serves as an important and space to discuss strategies related to sustainability, resources procurement, and increased resilience. The focus is on maritime economic resilience and align with the idea of Juanda Declaration. The 8th DIC conference on December 13, 2024 coincided with the 97th anniversary of Juanda Declaration, which based on Presidential Decree to number 126 of 2001 was designated as a Nusantara Day. The name of Insurance Juanda is an integral part of every tough step and activity related to education, research, and community service by the academic community of Juanda. Jadi hari ini kita juga memperingati deklarasi Insinyur Juanda Declaration ke-67. Marilah kita sama-sama merenungkan, menundukkan kepala setengah menit, berdoa buat beliau, semoga Allah menerima amal ibadahnya. Ini cipta, dimulai. Waghfir lahu warhamhu wa'afi wa'fanhu wa'krim nuzulahu wa wasi' madkhalahu wa sirhu fis sali wal ma'i wal baris wa naqihi minal khataaya kama yunaqqa sawul abyad minad danas wa ridhu daran khairan min darihi wa alam irwahu jannah. Allahu ja'al qabrahu rawdatan min jannah wa la taj'al qabrahu ghafatan. Amin. Therefore, Juanda University support the great name of Insinyur Haji Juanda, opening itself to conducting research, partnership, or community service activities with the parties interested in the Indonesian Sea. As a result, the territory of Indonesia, Republic Indonesia, has increased because of Juanda Declaration, 2.5 times from 5,193,250 kilometers is a calculation of 196 straight baseline from the outermost island point, creating a virtual boundaries line that surround the Republic of Indonesia along about 8 million miles, which is now also known as we call Wawasan Nusantara. If we imagine what would it be like if the border of Republic of Indonesia were never declared by Juanda Declaration, surely Indonesia could not inherit its territory as it is today. So what should we do? Maintain or utilize the territory of Republic Indonesia? There are many potential that can be developed in Indonesia maritime security. The sea area reach 5.8 million square kilometer and is the quarters of the total area of the Indonesian country. In addition, there are more than 17,000 islands surrounded by the second largest coastal line after Canada with around 95,000 kilometers. Now Indonesia must reorient national development from land-based to sea-based. The key is in optimizing the utilization of marine potential and creating economic growth centers spread throughout the archipelago. Through this, it is hoped that a strategy will be created to increase national economic growth. Dear speaker and participant, the conference comprises two scopes: applied science and research, focusing on innovative solution to sustainability challenge, and social science research, highlighting the role of social collaboration in the achieving sustainability goals. This dual approach underpins the importance of interdisciplinary effort in addressing global issues effectively. Also, the conference aligned with the 5 of United Nations Sustainability Development SDG goals. In UNIDA, there are 5 goals. We planning our activity. 1, no poverty, emphasizing inclusive solution to eradicate poverty. Goal number 4, quality education, underlining the transformative power of education. Goal number 5, gender equality, advocating for equitable opportunity goals. Number 16, peace, justice, and strong institution, which is critical for fostering stability and inclusivity. And goal number 17, partnership for the goals, highlighting the significance of collaboration across borders and discipline. By embracing this goal, this event underscores the critical role of research, education, and partnership in achieving in sustainability future. We take pride in hosting the diverse array of scholars, researchers, and practitioners from across the globe who bring unique perspective and expertise to the conference. Together, we aim to explore how research can provide practical, scalable solution to the challenge posed by climate change while strengthening network for long-term collaboration. It is through this shared effort that we can inspire meaningful change and ensure sustainability in sourcing, governance, and community development. As the conference progresses, we encourage participants to engage actively in discussion, workshop, and networking opportunity. These exchanges are not only a venue for academic growth, but also stepping stone toward actionable outcomes. We are confident that the outcomes of this event will significantly contribute to the global effort in addressing climate change challenge and achieving sustainability. To our participants and speakers, we extend our heartfelt congratulations for being part of this landmark event. Your enthusiasm, dedication, and commitment to advancing knowledge and collaboration inspire us all. We are confident that your contribution will leave a lasting impact on both academic discourses and practical application. Ladies and gentlemen, especially the researcher, we also allow the journal for the researcher, even one Scopus index and the others Sinta index. That's why I guess is to make our researcher enhance to make article, and then article selected by a committee will be published in choose journal. Please be careful and what do you call follow the what do you call rule of the journal, and your article will be published in this journal. Finally, welcome to our beloved campus, Juanda University, a campus nuances with Tauhid values. We hope you enjoy this enriching scientific activity in spin of comfort and enthusiasm. May this conference be source of inspiration, collaboration, and progress for all. Once again, welcome, and let us embark on this important journey together. Sebelum saya tutup, izinkan saya membaca satu pantun karena ada dari Malaysia. Ya. Nah, kasih pantun satu ya. Memang enak si mangga muda, rasanya asam tidak pahit. Selamat datang di Universitas Juanda, kampus tercinta, kampus bertauhid. Thank you very much. Wallahu yaqulul haq wa huwa yahdis sabil. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. Martin. Before we come to our keynote speech, let's watch the video profile of the Indonesian Coast Guard.
Indonesian Coast Guard is a non-ministerial government agency responsible to the President through the Coordinating Minister for Political, Legal, and Security Affairs. The organizational structures of Indonesian Coast Guard consist of the Chief of Indonesian Coast Guard, who is responsible to the President of the Republic Indonesia, and as a supervisory element in charge of the Executive Secretary, who also oversees the Planning and Organization Bureau, General Bureau, and Infrastructure Bureau. The Deputy for Policy and Strategy oversees the Directorate for Research and Development, Directorate for Strategy, and Directorate for Policy. The Deputy for Operations and Exercise oversees the Directorate of Training, the Directorate for Maritime Air Operations, and the Directorate for Sea Operations. Deputy for Information, Legal, and Cooperation in charge of the Directorate for Data and Information, Directorate for Law, and Directorate of Cooperation. The Chief of Indonesian Coast Guard also directly supervises the Inspectorate, Law Enforcement Unit, Western Maritime Zone in Batam, Central Maritime Zone in Manado, and Eastern Maritime Zone in Ambon.
Kita harapkan ke depan Bakamla itu menjadi embrio Coast Guard-nya Indonesia, sehingga nanti lembaga yang lain itu memang kembali ke institusinya masing-masing, dan di laut itu yang diberikan kewenangan hanya Bakamla.
Indonesian Coast Guard, in performing its duties, cooperates not only within the country but also between coast guards in Asia and Europe. This cooperation includes information exchange, joint patrols, education, personnel development, as well as law enforcement operations at sea aimed at dealing with threats such as smuggling, piracy, and illegal fishing. One important aspect of the cooperative relationship is joint personnel development exercises between countries. Indonesian Coast Guard often conducts joint exercises with fellow countries to increase the capacity and capability of personnel. In addition to personnel development, ship maneuvering exercises between countries are also part of Indonesian Coast Guard international cooperation. This exercise aims to improve interoperability and coordination between ships from various countries. With this maneuvering exercise, Indonesian Coast Guard state vessels can train with vessels from other countries in various scenarios, such as search and rescue operations, disaster management, and maritime security patrols. This exercise not only strengthens international cooperation, but also shows the commitment of Indonesian Coast Guard in maintaining security and stability in Indonesian waters and Indonesian jurisdiction. Indonesian Coast Guard, as stated by the Maritime Law No. 32 of 2014, is in charge of conducting security and safety patrols in the waters and jurisdictions of Indonesia. Indonesian Coast Guard has several functions, such as formulating national policies, integrating information systems, and coordinating patrols, as well as other tasks in the field of defense. In performing its roles and function, Indonesian Coast Guard has the authority to conduct ship inspection and to arrest the offenders. Indonesian Coast Guard, in performing its duties, is equipped with patrol facilities in the form of vessel and special response teams to conduct inspection. Currently, Indonesian Coast Guard has 10 patrol vessels, namely State Vessel Tanjung Datu, which is the largest ship of Indonesian Coast Guard with a length of 110 meters. Indonesian Coast Guard also has state vessels with a length of 80 meters, namely State Vessel Pulau Nipah, State Vessel Pulau Mawere, and State Vessel Pulau Dana. To conduct coastal and strait patrols, Indonesian Coast Guard has 6 vessels with a length of 48 meters, namely State Vessel Belut Laut, State Vessel Bintang Laut, State Vessel Gajah Laut, State Vessel Singa Laut, State Vessel Ular Laut, and State Vessel Kuda Laut. 8 catamarans, 10 rigid inflatable boats, and 4 high-speed craft, which are the fastest patrol vessels in Indonesia. In maintaining the security and safety of Indonesian waters, Indonesian Coast Guard, through the Indonesia Maritime Information Center, or IMIC, carries out 24-hour monitoring for 7 days. If a suspicious ship is detected, Indonesian Coast Guard analyzes and disseminates information to the unit under it or to the nearest site unit to be followed up if necessary. Indonesian Coast Guard has 3 maritime zone offices, which are Western Zone in Batam, Central Zone in Manado, and Eastern Zone in Ambon. In the recruitment process, prospective Indonesian Coast Guard personnel have to pass several selection stages. The computer-assisted test, which measures the level of intelligence, then the psychotest stage, which measures psychological quality, and the physical test to measure the physical readiness of the personnel. Indonesian Coast Guard personnel are those who have a responsive and agile attitude like military personnel. The personnel who are selected are required to attend Coast Guard basic training as a provision for those who are ready to protect the security and sovereignty of Indonesia. These patrol vessels are available in waters that are prioritized to deal with any threats to marine security and safety against Indonesia's national interests at sea.
Bakamla RI siap mengamankan Laut Indonesia demi masa depan bangsa.
We are now going to listen our keynote speech to the Chief of Indonesian Coast Guard. Laksdia TNI Dr. Irfansyah SH MTR Opsla CHR MP. Bengkulu 10 Mei 1968, AAL Angkatan 36 tahun 1990, Dikpasis Angkatan 3 tahun 1991, Diklapa 1 ART TA 1994-1995, Longjonary Course Pakistan tahun 1996, Diklapa 2 KOUM Angkatan 15 tahun Angkatan 2001, Seskol Angkatan 42 tahun 2004, Seskogap Thailand tahun 2015-2016, Profesi CHRMP MKI JKT TH 2019, PPSA Angkatan 23 Lemhanas RI tahun 2021. S1 Ilmu Hukum Universitas Yosudarso tahun 2014, S2 Magister Terapan Opsla Seskol tahun 2020, S3 Manajemen Strategik Universitas Trisakti. Please welcome Vice Admiral TNI Dr. Irfansyah SH MTR Opsla CHR MP.
The Honorable Chancellor of Juanda University, Professor Dr. Martin Rustami SH MH, the Honorable Rector of Juanda University, Dr. Hanja RCT Pupu Fauziah, SPDI, MPDI, distinguished guests, esteemed academics, researchers, all participants luring and daring. And for information, this time currently there are about 500 participants from Indonesia Coast Guard attending this conference online. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya. Good morning and warm greetings to all of you. Coinciding with the 67th anniversary of Juanda Declaration, we gather here today to attend the 8th Juanda International Conference on Applied Science, or DICAS 2024, and 8th Juanda International Conference on Social Science, or DICSS 2024. On this occasion, I will deliver the presentation about the economic potential of marine resources in upholding the spirit of Juanda Declaration for the prosperity of the people and national security of Indonesia. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On this occasion, I would like to deliver Bakamla's perspective on maritime security in Indonesia, which cannot be separated from the duties, functions, and roles of Bakamla based on National Law Number 32, 2014. Bakamla was established to encourage optimization effort to ensure maritime security in Indonesia. In carrying out this task, function and roles, Bakamla realized the importance of effort to create a maritime situational picture which will encourage the establishment of maritime domain awareness. At the end of my presentation, I would like to encourage all parties to take part in realizing maritime domain awareness. Ladies and gentlemen, in this presentation I will explain first, shortly will delivered about Bakamla Eri through short video already done. Second, in introduction, I shortly will deliver about the vital role of the sea and about Juanda Declaration, its history and effects toward Indonesia maritime. And next about maritime issues and maritime threats in Indonesia. And then I will explain also a brief strategy concept supporting sustainability blue economy. At last but not least, we arrived at conclusion and recommendation. Bakamla Eri as the Indonesia Coast Guard has the duties, functions, and authority to maintain security, safety, and law enforcement in Indonesia's maritime areas and its jurisdictional waters. The primary duties of Bakamla RI is to conduct patrols, enforcement, and security operations in Indonesia's maritime areas and jurisdictional waters. Its functions include formulating national maritime security policies, implementing early warning systems, coordinating and monitoring law enforcement at sea, supporting search and rescue operations, and ensuring the security, prevention, and prosecution of violations at sea. Bakamla RI also has the authority to carry out hard pursuit when anomalies occur at sea, inspect vessels, hand over to the authorities for further processing, and integrate information systems. Ladies and gentlemen, in an article discussing the world ocean published on the National Geographic website in 2024, it provides a detailed explanation of the definition of the ocean and its crucial importance for life. It stated that 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by water, and it is home to almost 97% of the planet's water, making the ocean the most critical component in the Earth's life cycle. Furthermore, the existence of the ocean also greatly influences global weather and climate cycles. This situation is part of a natural process in the water cycle, which plays a crucial role in sustaining life on Earth. National Geographic also report that over 90 tons of seafood are caught by fishermen worldwide, consisting of more than 100 species of fish and shellfish. As such, millions of people rely on fishing for their livelihoods. Additionally, National Geographic highlights growing concern among humanity, particularly among experts who understand the degradation and overexploitation of the world's marine resources. This has led scientists in recent decades to push for broader utilization of the ocean as a source of renewable energy. In summary, it can be said that ocean is home to 99% of life on Earth. The ocean provides 90% of the world's protein needs, helps slow climate change by absorbing 30% of CO2 emissions, absorb 90% of the heat caused by the greenhouse effect, serves as a road for 90% of global trade, provides space for hundreds of millions of jobs, and is the source of at least 30% of the world's gas and oil. The Juanda Declaration is a significant milestone in Indonesia's history as the archipelagic state. Through this declaration, Indonesia not only succeeded in significantly expanding its sovereignty, but also gained international recognition for the archipelagic state principle, which has become a strong foundation for managing maritime resources, security, and its strategic geopolitical position. This declaration has solidified Indonesia's status as a maritime nation with an important role in the region and the world. Indonesia, as an archipelagic country, has unique geography that requires special regulations. In addition, its vast maritime area must be viewed as a unity, making maritime security crucial for the nation. This consideration led Indonesia to issue the Juanda Declaration. The Juanda Declaration, issued on December 13, 1957, was a monumental first step in reaffirming Indonesia's status as an archipelagic state. However, this declaration did not immediately gain international recognition. Indonesia faced significant challenges in advocating for the archipelagic state concept and establishing it as part of international maritime law. This led to a long diplomatic struggle involving various strategic efforts at both regional and global levels. Some of the steps taken included the enactment of Law Number 4 of 1960 on Indonesian waters, followed by the presentation of the Nusantara Vision concept at the Afro-ASEAN Conference in Colombo in 1971. Indonesia's effort didn't stop there. The country also actively promoted the concept of an archipelagic state during the United Nations Conference on the Law of the Sea. The result of this struggle was the official recognition of the archipelagic state principle in the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. This convention recognized the concept of archipelagic baselines, which allows archipelagic countries to draw strike baselines connecting the outermost points of their islands. As a result, the waters within this baseline are recognized as archipelagic waters, falling under the country's sovereignty. The recognition of the archipelagic state principle through the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea marked an important historical milestone for Indonesia. The Juanda Declaration of 1957, which served as the foundation for the archipelagic state concept, was finally globally recognized in this convention. However, after the adoption of the UNCLOS 1982, its implementation in Indonesia required various strategic steps, legal reinforcement, and policy adjustment to ensure that this recognition will bring tangible benefits to the country's sovereignty and national development. The adoption of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea has had a significant impact on Indonesia in terms of sovereignty, economy, and maritime security. As the largest archipelagic country in the world, the recognition of the archipelagic state concept by UNCLOS has strengthened Indonesia's position on the international stage and provided various opportunities as well as challenges that need to be managed. The recognition of the UNCLOS principle of the archipelagic state is a major victory for Indonesia in its fight for maritime sovereignty. However, this endorsement also brings several significant challenges for Indonesia in managing, defending, and utilizing its maritime territory. As an archipelagic state with more than 17,000 islands and vast marine areas, the implementation of UNCLOS provision demands considerable effort in the fields of law, security, economy, and diplomacy. However, a concerning situation was reported by the World Bank, and in June 2023, World Bank infographic Lautra report which stated that in the past few decades, the world has lost about 20 to 50% of its coral reefs. The UN estimates that 90% of the world coral reef will be extinct by 2050 if no action is taken to address this. 1/3 of Indonesia coral reef are in poor condition. 40% of mangrove forests and seagrass beds in Indonesia are in degrade or lost state. Given this situation, the World Bank report highlights that if not properly managed, challenges related to the integrity of Indonesia marine and coastal ecosystem could hinder the country's marine economic potential. Furthermore, it is also stated that Indonesia is predicted to experience the largest decline in fish catch globally, which will increasingly widen the poverty gap in coastal villages. And in general, fishermen's income is lower than the national minimum wage. This situation is certainly a sad concern, especially for the government to find strategic effort to prevent the predicted outcome outlined by the World Bank, particularly through the management of maritime potential based on sustainable economic practices. The ocean, which covers 70% of Earth's surface, is a highly dynamic area as it serves as a medium for the activities of all humanity. The synthesis of human behavior, theory, sociology, and anthropology leads to Lloyd threat concept, which states that the threat results from the interaction between intention, circumstance, and capability. There are at least 8 factual and potential threats in the sea, namely territorial violations, armed piracy, maritime accidents, organized crime, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, or IUU fishing, marine pollution, maritime terrorism, and invasion. Among these threats, invasion is the least likely to occur, although it poses a danger to sovereignty. On the other hand, IUU fishing is the most frequent threat, and organized crime is the most dangerous threat because it has broad and long-term impacts. Indonesia maritime security system must be capable of addressing all these forms of threat, having the capacity to counter intentions, neutralize the circumstances, and face the capabilities of the perpetrators. Ladies and gentlemen, regional maritime security issues are almost similar to the issues that are faced by Indonesia, since the threat of maritime security in Southeast Asia and even global world are almost similar. Issue on drug trafficking, IUU fishing, irregular migration, smuggling, armed robbery, human trafficking, border dispute, and also oil spill pollution, and are faced by our region, whether the actor that threaten us are from external actor or from internal actors. Considering the dynamic of maritime threats and the current condition of Bakamla RI, an approach has been taken to deploy forces in priority areas, implement a standby fleet patterns, and enhance information capacity to build an early warning system. Based on the maritime security challenges in 2021, the priority operational areas for Bakamla RI include the waters of North Natuna Sea, the Indonesian Archipelagic Sea Lanes, or ALKI 1, 2, and 3, the west coast or the Sumatra Island coastline. The North Natuna Sea has the potential for IUU fishing and territorial violation, while the ALKI is prone to legal violation related to shipping and maritime safety, and the Sumatra coastline is a road for drug trafficking. From this task, implementation concept and priority area, Bakamla RI faces significant challenges in maintaining a constant presence in the sea across these priority areas due to limited assets, suboptimal information exchange, and limited operational budgets. This is further complicated by implementation of Bakamla functions and authority under Law Number 32, 2014, which lacks supporting regulation that are currently under review by the President for processing. The situation is also exacerbated by the BPK's disclaimer opinion, which result in a low budget, low allowance, and impact motivation and self-confidence. The Maritime Security Framework refers to a comprehensive system of policies, strategies, and actions aimed to ensuring the safety, stability, sustainable use of maritime resources. It is designed to address the various challenges faced by nations in managing their maritime domains, which often include territorial disputes, piracy, illegal fishing, environmental degradation, and threat to critical maritime infrastructure. The governance of maritime affairs as the implementation of the maritime security system in Indonesia seems to be far from optimal. This can be seen from the overlap of enforcement authorities in the waters and national jurisdiction, which has a significant impact on economic actors. Often these economic actors are inspected by different authorities for the same legal object, resulting in increased logistic costs. On the other hand, this gap can also be exploited by economic actors to avoid compliance with regulation in order to reduce bureaucratic costs. Looking at the role of ministries and agencies in visual representation of their roles in the waters and national jurisdiction, it is evident that in almost all regimes, there are multiple law enforcement agencies involved. As an archipelagic state where the sea dominates its territory, Indonesia's national interests are inseparable from the presence of the sea itself. The crucial role of the sea as a unifier, connector, natural resource, defense and security platform, and the means of building influence makes Indonesia's national interests at sea focused on ensuring security and safety, the sustainable utilization of marine resources, and fostering cooperation. This national interest must be guaranteed by the national power possessed across the dimensions of diplomacy, information, military, and economy. Each dimension has elements of interest with varying intensities, ranging from the highest level to survival to the lowest, which is important. The elements of national interest in diplomatic dimension include cooperation and the handling of border disputes. In the information dimension, the elements involved of the development of an information system, information exchange, and technological capabilities. In the military dimension, the element focus on preventing maritime threats, securing sea lanes, and protecting natural resources through the development of military strength. In the economic dimension, the elements are concentrated on the development of coastal areas, ports, and logistic systems to support economic growth. The intelligent approach is a method used to build maritime domain awareness, which refer to the effective understanding of everything related to maritime spaces that affect security, safety, the economy, and the environment. Maritime space encompasses all areas connected to the sea, ocean, shipping lanes, including associated activities, infrastructure, people, ships, and transport equipment. By establishing MDA effectively, the planning and implementation of maritime security governance will become more efficient and effective. Maritime security is a key element in maintaining sovereignty, safety, and the sustainability of economy in a country's maritime territory. As an archipelagic nation with a strategic position, Indonesia bears a significant responsibility in managing the security of its maritime domain. Therefore, the establishment of a maritime security framework has become an urgent necessity to address various challenges and threats at sea. The concept of a blue economy, which emphasizes the sustainable use of marine resources, requires a strong security foundation. Security in the context of the blue economy encompasses various aspects, ranging from maritime security, marine food security, to marine environmental security. A comprehensive security approach is the key to the successful implementation of the blue economy concept. With security guarantees, the potential of marine resources can be optimally utilized to improve people welfare and preserve environmental sustainability. By using a policy approach, it has been found that collaborative strategy is the best strategy the government can implement at this time to improve the effectiveness of national maritime governance, especially regarding the issue of maritime security regulations that remain partial. Based on the SWOT analysis conducted, several strategic recommendations have been identified for improving maritime governance based on sustainable economics, particularly regarding maritime security threats. There are recommendations include, first is optimization of laws or regulation, enhancing the laws and regulations that govern governance and the implementation of technology utilization or integration of information system. Second, building an integrated national information system, establishing the comprehensive national information system and implementing information exchange to develop a big data warehouse. The third, development of maritime security strength structure, building a technological advanced maritime security force structure that support present in the context of law enforcement. From the history of Juanda Declaration, there is a lesson can be learned, which are the importance of unity as national unity is the key to the success of Indonesia diplomatic struggle. Other than that, also consistent and persistent diplomacy can change the international order. This can be shown as diplomacy strength. Archipelagic insight is a long-term vision that requires continuous effort of Indonesia in safeguarding the security and safety of Indonesia's territorial waters for the prosperity of the nation. The Juanda Declaration is a significant milestone in the history of Indonesian maritime law. This declaration has become the foundation for Indonesian maritime policy to this day. Indonesia diplomatic struggle should serve as an inspiration for future generations. Indonesia as an archipelagic state has opportunities and threats. Opportunity must be exploited and empowered, while threats must be faced and minimized. Everything is done using existing resources, so a strategic approach is needed. Strategic approaches to establish maritime security are by utilizing technology and collaboration. Related to the use of technology, Bakamla LAIRI encourages the development and utilization of detection technology and patrol boat technology to support of the implementation of prison duties at sea. Related to collaboration, Bakamla LAIRI encourages information exchange and builds capacity to create maritime situational awareness and deterrence against maritime threats. Maritime security is an inevitability due to its role in supporting national interests at sea to achieve Indonesian national goals. Maritime security requires a 24/7 surveillance pattern, and given the limited assets and vast coverage area, smart technology is needed for accuracy in joint operations. Technology plays a crucial role in the implementation of Maritime Security Strategy 4.0 to address maritime threats amid the fourth industrial revolution. The output of the strategy is the establishment of network-centric operation to address the dynamic of regional and global strategic environment. Thus, we conclude this presentation to uphold the spirit of the Juanda Declaration. Moving forward, Bakamla RI as Indonesia Coast Guard will sign a memorandum of understanding with Juanda University as a form of its commitment to supporting the three dharma of higher education and carrying out its duties to functions as the agency responsible for safeguarding maritime security. Thank you, and may these conferences inspire impactful contribution to our collective future. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam, Om Santi 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 Om.
Thank you, Dr. Irfansyah, for very valuable sharing. Signing MOU between Universitas Juanda and Indonesian Coast Guard and the Hannover of Certificate. We would like to invite the Rector of Universitas Juanda and the Chancellor of Universitas Juanda. The certificate are over. Okay, we'd like to invite for all our speakers to having a picture. Prof. Mary, Prof. Asep, Prof. Abdul Karim, and for all speakers, we would like to invite on the stage. Terima kasih. Perlu di-announce? Thank you very much for your Okay. Okay. Terima kasih kepada Bapak Kepala Bakamla telah hadir pada hari ini. Terima kasih. For all the speaker, you may be seated because we are going to continue our agenda. Would you please come to our stage? We are going to, our agenda is international conference